Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're tackling something that's really blowing up in the Formula One world.
Oh, yeah. What's that?
These rumors, accusations even, flying around social media about, potential sabotage inside Ferrari.
Ah, right. Targeting Hamilton, favoring Leclerc, that whole narrative for the 2025 season.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's a really juicy storyline.
It is, and you can see why it grabs people. I mean, two top-tier drivers, the pressure cooker of Ferrari. It's compelling stuff. Anyone following F1 is going to be intrigued.
For sure. And you're probably seeing the same discussions, the same arguments online. So what we want to do today is sort of cut through that noise.
Yeah, get to the bottom of it, or at least closer to it.
Right. We need to understand what the actual sources are telling us. We've looked at, well, everything from those raw ex posts to proper articles from The Athletic, ESPN, The Race, Planet F1.
And there's that survey note too, right? From today, May 26th, looking specifically at this situation.
Yep. So the mission, if you like, is to objectively weigh these sabotage claims against, actual team performance, strategy calls, the driver dynamic.
Basically, separate the speculation from the substance. See what holds up when you look closely. Let's really dig in.
Okay, let's start right where most of this kicks off. Social media.x in particular. It's been pretty wild.
Well, yeah, social media is instant, right? Fans react in the moment, during the race, right after. That passion is great, but it doesn't always mean the first take is the full picture.
No, definitely not. We saw some specific posts getting a lot of attention, like at Forza Ferrari yesterday, May 25th, they were going after Hamilton's race engineer, Riccardo Adami,
What'd they say?
basically blaming him,
Yeah.
suggesting he's costing Lewis races, maybe his heart's not in it, needs replacing. Pretty strong stuff.
Wow. Okay. But again, that's a fan's view, right?
Yeah.
Fueled by maybe frustration, seeing things a certain way in the heat of the moment. It's not necessarily based on, insider info or deep analysis.
Right. Then there was at Monte Carlo Mafia back on May 18th. That post got nearly 1,000 favorites.
Okay, what was their angle?
They pointed to that Imola incident. Leclerc wanted to pit, apparently, but then the plan changed right after Hamilton pitted. The implication being, Lewis got priority.
Okay. See, that's interesting. How one moment gets framed online, picks up steam, and suddenly it's evidence for a whole theory. We definitely need to look closer at what actually happened there, according to the reports.
And one more just today from at JTheBizDev. They suggested something maybe more strategic. Like Ferrari might prioritize the constructor's title over Hamilton winning the driver's championship.
How so?
The idea being if Lewis starts consistently beating Charles, maybe they'd subtly hinder him to keep the points balanced for the team championship.
Huh. That's a more complex theory. I mean, teams do have overall objectives. Sometimes strategic calls benefit the team score even if one driver isn't thrilled. But jumping from that to actual intentional sabotage, that's a big leap.
Yeah.
Needs solid proof.
Yeah, a huge leap. So, okay, social media lit the fire. But let's shift gears. What about the car itself, the SF25? Could its performance explain some of these results?
That's a really crucial point. Before jumping to conclusions about team plotting, you have to ask, how good is the car, fundamentally? Is it consistent? Does it maybe suit one driver's style better than the others right now?
Well, The Athletic definitely leaned that way after Saudi Arabia. They reported Hamilton called his race horrible. Finished, 31 seconds behind Leclerc, and Leclerc was on the podium.
Yeah, 31 seconds. That's a big gap.
And The Athletic's analysis was that it mainly came down to the car's pace, or Hamilton's lack of it that weekend.
Exactly. If a driver just can't find the speed or can't get the setup right on a given weekend, the result reflects that. Attributing a half-minute gap purely to sabotage, that seems unlikely without way more evidence.
And it wasn't just Saudi. ESPN reported after Imola about Ferrari struggling with qualifying pace generally. Even Leclerc, who's usually strong there, sounded frustrated.
What did he say?
Something like, in the race, but before that, it's not there. We don't understand why yet.
Right. So that sounds like a team still trying to figure out its own car. If the base performance isn't consistently strong, both drivers are going to have ups and downs, and those downs can easily look like something else if you're already suspicious.
Okay, so we've got the social media buzz, and we've got the car's potential issues. Let's get into the specific incidents people point to. Miami Grand Prix, first up.
Right, Miami. That definitely caused a stir, mostly because of the radio messages we all heard. The race and others reported on it. Leclerc was told to stay ahead initially.
For the DRS, right, to help defend.
Yeah, standard tactic sometimes. Give the guy behind a tow to keep others back. But then later they did swap them.
And that's when we got Hamilton's famous line, Have a tea break while you're at it. Clearly not happy.
No, definitely sounded frustrated.
Yeah.
But you also have to see the team side. Fred Vasseur, the team boss, defended it. The race quoted him saying the team did a good job and it was just standard team policy, meaning sometimes you make a call that helps the team's overall result, maximizing points, even if it temporarily disadvantages one driver. It's about the bigger picture for them, like sacrificing a piece in chess for position.
Okay, makes sense from a team perspective, even if it stings for the driver. So the team goal comes first. Now, Imola. That incident at Monte Carlo Mafia highlighted Leclerc thinking about pitting, then Hamilton goes in.
Yeah, and this is really key, based on Planet F1's reporting. Leclerc got on the radio, sounding frustrated, saying something like, "Why? I haven't pitted. Lewis has pitted. I'm not going to wait behind and lose more positions anyway."
Ah, so he decided not to pit then, because Lewis had pitted.
It strongly suggests that, yes, it wasn't the team telling him change your plan because Lewis pitted. It seems like Leclerc made the call in reaction to seeing his teammate pit. That's a really important difference.
That is a critical difference, because the social media story was Ferrari changed his plan because of Lewis, but the reporting suggests Leclerc reacted himself.
Precisely. It just shows how easily things get misinterpreted without the full context, especially, the driver's own input from the cockpit.
Okay. In Saudi Arabia, again, Leclerc's podium, while Lewis struggled way back in 7th, fans pointed to that as obvious favoritism.
But again, the Athletics report attributed Leclerc's good result to strong race pace and running longer on the medium tires. Good strategy, good pace. Hamilton, meanwhile, said himself he struggled finding the right setup all weekend.
So again, it looks more like car setup and performance differences on that specific weekend, not the team holding one guy back.
That seems to be what the credible report suggests, yeah.
Okay, what about other factors? Internal team stuff? There were reports suggesting Hamilton and Leclerc might be going in different directions with how they want the car set up or developed.
That's another really interesting angle. 9.com.au mentioned Leclerc telling the bosses early on he was kind of going his own way on development after a tricky start.
What does that imply? Diverting paths.
It could, yeah. It suggests maybe they're not entirely aligned on what they want from the car or what direction development should take. And if they're chasing different setup philosophies, well, that can definitely lead to performance differences. It might even point to some underlying friction about the car's direction.
And the race added more detail there, didn't they? Saying Leclerc adopted a quite extreme setup from Japan onwards, which seemed to work better for him.
Yeah, and that Hamilton hasn't quite found that same sweet spot or consistent rhythm with his setup yet.
So if one driver finds a setup that unlocks the car's potential for them, and the other is still searching,
then you'd naturally expect to see performance differences on track. It wouldn't necessarily be sabotage, just different paths working out differently at this point in time.
Yeah.
It reflects their driving styles, their feedback loop with the engineers.
Right. Let's quickly look at the results side by side then. Bahrain, Hamilton 5th, Leclerc 4th, Lewis about 8 seconds back, citing car pace issues.
Yep. Saudi, Leclerc 3rd, Hamilton 7th. That big 31-second gap linked to Hamilton's setup struggles.
Miami, a closer finish. Leclerc 7th, Hamilton 8th. That was the race with the radio tension and the swap.
And Imola. Hamilton actually had his best result, 4th. Leclerc was 6th, and he was the one frustrated that weekend, mostly about qualifying pace.
So looking at that data, Leclerc has generally performed a bit better recently, yes, but...
But the context provided by the reports nearly always points to car setup, general car performance limitations, or specific strategic calls, rather than some consistent pattern of deliberate undermining of Hamilton.
Yeah, that seems to be the picture emerging.
Exactly. If you synthesize what the reputable outlets, The Athletic, ESPN, The Race, Planet F1 are saying, the consensus is really that Ferrari's main challenges are performance-based.
The car isn't quite there yet.
Right. It's not consistently top tier. They're working on it. The drivers are trying different things to extract performance. And you add in normal F1 strategy. Situations arise that look like favoritism to passionate fans.
Especially when viewed through that social media lens.
Definitely. And it's worth stressing again, Imola seems to be Leclerc's call, reacting to the race situation. Miami's strategy, while annoying for Lewis, was defended by Vasseur as standard team practice.
It really highlights why digging into those credible reports is so important. Rather than just running with the initial, often more dramatic social media take, the reality inside an F1 team is usually way more complicated.
Almost always more nuanced than just Team A is sabotaging driver B.
Okay, so let's try and wrap this up. While all the online buzz about Ferrari potentially sabotaging Hamilton, is definitely getting clicks and sparking debate.
Understandably so.
Our deep dive into the evidence from the more reliable sources points pretty strongly elsewhere. It suggests Ferrari's issues in 2025 are much more rooted in the SF25's performance, or lack thereof, and the usual complex web of F1 strategy calls.
It doesn't seem to point towards deliberate actions against Hamilton. More like a team struggling to optimize his package, with two drivers potentially taking different approaches to get there.
It's a good reminder, isn't it? F1 fans are incredibly passionate, which is fantastic for the sport.
Absolutely the lifeblood of it.
But that passion can sometimes lead to interpreting things in a way that fits a compelling narrative, even if the full picture is maybe a bit more mundane, or at least more technical.
Yeah, every radio snippet, every pit stop timing gets put under this intense microscope. It's easy to see patterns that might not actually reflect intent.
It is, and you can understand why people look for these kinds of explanations, especially with huge names like Hamilton and Leclerc, but it seems crucial to weigh those gut reactions against the detailed reporting. Knowing that Imola thing was likely Leclerc's own call really shifts the perspective, doesn't it?
It absolutely does. It shows how context is king. And maybe that leads us to a final thought for you listening. Think about how much that intense fan focus and emotional investment shapes the stories we tell about F1. Beyond just pure driver skill or obvious team orders, what other, maybe more subtle factors, car characteristics, engineering choices, even just plain old luck, might be influencing why one teammate sometimes seems to have the edge over the other in such a complex sport, something to chew on as the season goes on.
Yeah, mate, just been a little bit lost out there, just in, it's very sporadic info.
Understood. And we are in free air now till the end.
Okay, where is everyone? So I know. Don't need to know where Verstappen is. Like, who's ahead of me, who's behind? And what position am I in?
We are at P5. Gasly is 30 seconds side.
Has to stop twice,
Yeah, correct. And no threat from behind.
so I can bring you size info.
Yes, you can. When you cross the line, 20 laps to go.
I'm not on the threat, right? And if you don't bring them in slow.
Correct. No threat from behind.
So those guys are miles ahead of me. 30 seconds plus.
Yeah, correct.
Are the tires older than mine?
Yeah,
middle
mediums.
stiff. That's pretty full.
Exactly what traffic. Mediums are good to the end.
You want time you need to be doing? That's the others.
15.3, 15.5 to the end.
Pace of the cars ahead.
Charles for medium 15.6. Piastri on hard 13.7, 14.4. And Norris 15.5. And already lap 15.3.
Yep, ahead.
We got a big group of cars ahead, 10 cars on blue flags. 12 laps to go.
If I've been dead slow this whole race.
And switch red. And 3 more ahead of Colapinto, and then you are 3 ahead. And 8 laps to go. Solid neutral car ahead. First 4 cars on lap 15.8 for info. And given we have a free pit stop in case of safety car with box for soft. 6 more laps.
And they're still nearly a minute ahead.
And Charles on medium and McLaren's on hard, lapping 16. Very close to each other fighting.
You're not answering the question. It doesn't really matter, I guess. I'm just asking, am I a minute behind or?
It's 48 seconds. And 3 to go. Verstappen last lap. It's a P5. He lost a lot of time in traffic, and then the rest we need to investigate. And pick up, please. Charge button on.
That's up result. Yeah, big thank you to the boys. As I said, into the car. It's not been the easiest of weekends, but we lived to quite another day, so yeah. Thank you. Are you upset with me or something?